So you're interested in what is this Prakāsha Tantra course all about? You're a little bit curious and you want to know more. So I'm going to take some time to just explain to you the whole format of the course. So the intention is that it'll be a 9-week journey, but it's self-paced and you have 4 months to complete. So you'll have access to all of the material for 4 months. The idea is that you try to do it in 9 weeks. So it's a little bit more of an intensive and you're immersed in each part of each week because it's paced in a certain intention. But if your schedule doesn't allow for you to do that, then you could stretch it out. Or if you find you need more time with one module, it's better that you digest what you learn than advance before you digest. So you can take your time. And if you found yourself after 4 months still not complete with it, I would work with you. So it's going to be super personalized. It's not the kind of online course that's like you just click buy and the teacher's not involved. I'm going to be coaching you the whole time. So you get 3 45-minute calls with me over the course of your course, and you can book those with me at your convenience. So that's really important to me, that we are connected and that I'm responsible for you. I'm going to be your spiritual guide on some level, be working with my lineage teachers through me, but I want to make sure that everything's making sense and you don't have any doubts. So we'll create a friendship, or if we're not friends already, we'll create a deep friendship. And one of my teachers said a spiritual guide is really just a spiritual friend. So my intention is to create that bond with you. And then each week, so you'll get a workbook that kind of paces out the course for you. So it's a PDF file that's really beautiful, and you can learn visually by reading. I've created like all the little notes from the videos and what you need to know in advance before watching the videos or doing the practices, anything you need to know. And then that'll refer you when to watch the videos, when to do which meditations, mantras, and asana practices. And then each module, you'll start with a teaching video. So I'll be on the camera and can talk to you about one of the pillar teachings in Tantra. And I've set it up so that we build on concepts and we get all the way into the technology near the end of the course. But we set up all the primary, fundamental prerequisites, basically. So you can't really practice the technology, the full flourishing of the technology, without the grounds and paths, the foundational teaching. So we start there. You can decide if you like having video and watching all my ridiculous antics as I learn how to talk to the camera, or you can decide to just listen to the audio if you learn better auditorily. One of my intentions in creating this course is that it really has a feeling of what Tantra is to me, which is just really honest and genuine. So the material isn't going to be me in a forced voice, like trying to do anything fancy. I'm just really telling you with my heart what I've learned. So that teaching video is about an hour to an hour and a half each week. And then we'll have a meditation practice. So it'll be in accordance or in alignment, like on the same topic as the teaching. And it'll be about half an hour. Sometimes they're a little bit longer. And this is an audio recording. Sometimes has some soundscape in the back or some music that I've created. Sometimes I've walked out into the forest and recorded there. So there's different suggestions for you for while you're practicing. If it's to go out in nature, there's some of them that are suggested to do that. And then there'll be a mantra that also is in alignment with the teaching. And the mantra, so it's a mantra recitation class, and this is an audio file as well. And so you'll start with, in the workbook, you'll have the Sanskrit and the translation. and even the Sanskrit letters as well if you want. And you can read along to start, and then we'll do a chanting practice. So it'll be like a repeat after me style. And then we'll start to chant into a flow. So depending on the length of the mantra, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes longer. Some of the mantras are not as musical. Some of them are more ritual based. So part of tantric practice is called puja, which is like a ritual for invoking a certain energy. And I teach you one short practice to honor the chakra system, and you can learn the Sanskrit for that. So there's a little bit of learning Sanskrit as I'm embarking on this quest. I want to share what I already know quite well, which is the pronunciation and the spirit of Sanskrit. And then you'll have also all of this will be in the workbook that you can follow along with. And then there are journaling exercises, so different kinds of inquiries. So I really suggest you take time each week to really reflect on the teachings so that they become alive for you. Tantra doesn't work unless you really embody it. So part of that is really reflecting and journaling. It doesn't have to be journaling if you don't like journaling. It could be you pick a friend that you're going to talk to about your practice, or you just talk to yourself, or you do voice notes to yourself if you don't like writing. But the idea is that you reflect. And then there's an adventure date, which is like a little adventure to take yourself on. And the topic will be at the heart of why you're doing that adventure. So it's a way to engage with the material in the world and kind of start to practice seeing the things that we're learning in the living dynamism of your reality. And then finally, there'll be an asana practice each week. So we start kind of basic and just learn some general movements for how to move as meditation. And then we'll learn the foundational Tridosha balancing series, or the prana balancing series from the Kaulapath. And this is the series that is taught at the Sri Kali Ashram. I think it's formerly Sri Kali Ashram. I think they've changed a little bit lately. But that series comes from that lineage, from the Kaula tradition. It's an incredible series, and it works to balance all the different channels in the body. And it's really great for just really deeply meditating in your body. So bringing meditation into the whole body. It's slow, it's deep, it's like a trance that you can get into. Some people describe it like yin yoga, but it's not really like yin yoga. It's kind of like a Shakti Shiva, like there's active, it's challenging, and yet you relax. So that series is kind of at the heart of this whole course. We'll have 3 or 4 classes out of the 9 are devoted to that. And so you'll get a chance to memorize that series. And if you were to practice deeply, like if you did the video every day, you could be working towards feeling quite confident to share that practice as well. And we can check in with how you're doing with that in one of our calls to see if it feels right. Your final exam is to record yourself teaching a class and to send that to me, like guiding a class. Really, we're not teachers of yoga, we're guides, we're living examples, initiators. We give a transmission through our being, right? So you'll record something, and if you want, you can send it to me, and then I'll give you my feedback. So you can decide if you practice the asanas every day is the suggestion, if you want to make this like a real, almost like a teacher training, or a deep dive retreat. Or if you don't have that much time, you could space it out. At least practice asana 3 times a week would be the suggestion. And then I'll just tell you about what the 9 pillars are. So the first week, we just do a basic introduction, give a little framework. What is Tantra? A little history, set us in the culture and context And then I will share my story a little bit. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of where I was before I encountered Tantra and how it took me on a journey of transformation to who I am now. The second week will establish the view. So this is like super key, establishing the cosmovision. We'll look at it from the Shiva Shakti paradigm, and we'll look through the Buddhist lens of emptiness, bliss and emptiness. We'll explore deeply what the world is, what life is from a tantric perspective, so that everything we do from then on is grounded in that. It has to come from that place, or else it's kind of just placing something on top of what you already know. We need to go in and start adjusting the root narrative, the blanket under the mycelial mat that is your consciousness. We need to plant some understanding there, and then everything that fruits from there will come from wisdom, essentially. The third module will talk about karma. So we're going to understand what it means, law of cause and effect, how things create, what the physical, the lived expression, the video dream, how it's created. And we'll talk about the skillful and unskillful means in karma. So how we act generates our effects. We create the causes now. And we'll talk about that from both a Buddhist framework of the unskillful and skillful, like the precepts basically. And we'll also look at like Patanjali yoga style, the yama, niyama, what to do and what not to do if you want to have an easeful life, essentially. And the fourth week, the fourth module, we'll talk about what's called vidya and avidya in Sanskrit, which is the knowledge and ignorance kind of axis. So we'll take the view a little bit deeper into understanding what does it mean to know and what is the primordial ignorance in Tantra. And we need to understand that so that basically everything spirals from the primordial ignorance. So we go in there and tweak towards knowledge, and that becomes a kind of meditation that we do in our living life all the time. We always orient, am I looking at the world through correct view? Or am I looking at the world through my unskillful conditioned pattern to see separation? So we'll go pretty deeply into that. And then on the fifth week, I'll look at my notes here, a lot to remember, we'll talk about prana. So everyone's kind of familiar with what is energy, subtle energy, but it's important that as we study something, we make sure we're using the same language and that we're using language that we actually mean the same thing. So I'm going to talk more about what prana is and how that affects our meditation, what that it does in our yoga practice, and why we're trying to alter the flow of prana. Why do we want to? And the spiritual implication of being able to work with your subtle body. And then the sixth week, we build on that. So we start with the prana, and then we move into the sixth week, we go to the chakra system. So we'll look at both the 7 chakra system that you're probably familiar with, and then there's 5 and 6 chakra systems in Tantra. So we'll take a little look at the 5 chakra system. And we're gonna do practices particularly to work with what's called the khandha, which is kind of associated with your sacral and your heart. And we'll start to do practices that engage the energy system and visualizations to activate these centers. And then on the 7th week, it all starts to become highly tantric in the sense that we use imagination really deeply. We've been practicing and learning how to use imagination on the path. And Tantra is really about using your creative power to imagine reality, to actually generate it. So we're going to talk about the yantra, mantra, mudra framework. This is a kind of trinity of different ways of visualizing and embodying what you desire. And we're going to use an example of the goddess Tripura Sundari and the Sri Yantra to explain it. But then we're also going to look at a non-sectarian or non-religious way of practicing that same framework. So if you're not really comfortable with deities, you can also still learn the concept we will practice with the deity. So if you're super uncomfortable with deity, it's probably not a good course for you. If you're a little curious but doubtful, you can definitely work through that in this course. If you're like completely against it, then probably not right for you. If you have doubt, you can still engage the material in your own creative way. So this isn't a religious dogmatic course at all, but we definitely do work with symbols and deities, divinities. We're going to use the word Buddha. We're going to talk about awakening, and we're going to talk about actual complete enlightenment. So this course is not about just bettering the physical life or this one lifetime. This course is really a truly spiritual course. So it's looking at your life beyond this lifetime, the lifetimes before and the lifetimes future, and what's actually at the heart of it, which is your awareness, the natural state of your awareness. We'll access there. And then the 8th week, we're going to talk about meditation and how we use neuroplasticity in Tantra. So Tantra has been practicing the art of neuroplasticity. I call it sculpting the mind, like clay. Long before we had a scientific term for it, or knew that the scientists used to think the brain was fixed. But the tantrics always knew that it's malleable. Everything is malleable. Everything is in flux. So we talk about how meditation actually alters the very perception of who you feel you are, your identity, your screen, and how we do the reprogramming process with all the different facets of Tantra. So the mantras and the meditations that we're doing the whole course, the pranayama that we learn, the bandhas that we learn, all the active, dynamic asana practices are all ways that we're sculpting the mind for awakening. And then the 9th week, we talk about how do we bring this into life. So Tantra is not a sort of book thing. It can't just sit as a concept. It has to be evoked and embodied through the yogi, the yogini, and the way that they see, the way that they speak, the way that they express. So we're going to talk about ways to set yourself up for success in the sense of mastery. Yogini means master of yoga, female master of yoga, and yogi means male master of yoga. And yoga means to link your small self, the sense of you being the contracted loci of your awareness identified with your physical body and your life circumstances, the content of your waking dream, of reuniting that, taking your identity away from that small self and bringing it to the absolute self, or the emptiness, the awareness itself, that pure state of undifferentiated awareness. That's yoga. So we're becoming masters of this through Tantra, through the imaginatory, the imagination, play, dance, expression, creative imagining of our minds. So we're going to talk about, how do we set up life in a way that is so that everything in life is our practice, and we're not just practicing when we're sitting for our however long in the morning formal practice. We're going to become embodied conscious creators, actual living Dharma practitioners, yogis, yoginis. I get so excited talking about it. It's been an absolute gift to make this course, and as I've been making it, I'm like realizing, okay, I made this for me as well. So all teachers, Robert Thurman, one of my favorite Buddhist zany scholar teachers, he says that we offer retreats mainly for ourselves. If you're a teacher of any kind, you can relate to that probably. So I'm going to do this journey with you. Whoever are the first 10 participants, I'm going to take 10 students on starting in September. and I'm going to do the journey with you. And we'll be kind of like a little cohort that moves through this and explores, experiments with this material. So I'm really excited to find out who will join me and who will support this, to support me offering my gift. And it's also a way to support me. I'm moving to Nepal to study these things and to study Sanskrit in depth. And so it'll help me sustain myself there. So that's the transparency of why I'm asking for some exchange to receive the content, so that I can continue to study and bring more beautiful and exquisite translations of the teachings to the Sangha, to all living beings. All right. Blah, 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 blue, 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 yaddy, yaddy, yaddy. These are all words. Hopefully they reached your heart like fingers pointing to the moon. Thank you for listening. And yeah, send me a message if you want some more information. Thank you. Bye.